أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. أما بعد. المعقد السابع عشر: الذب عن العلم والذود عن حياضه. The 17th principle, or the foundation of knowledge, السابع عشر, 17th, is الذب عن العلم والذود عن حياضه. الذب refers to the act of defending or safeguarding, and العلم, so defending knowledge or safeguarding knowledge, safeguarding its integrity and so on and so forth. الذب عن العلم, so safeguarding or defense of knowledge. والذود عن حياضه. And ذود is very similar to the word ذب. It refers to the act of protecting. Okay, so ensuring that the sanctity of something is upheld. So الذب عن العلم والذود, protecting. عن حياضه. حياض refers to the boundaries of something. Okay, so the territory or boundary of something. I'm sure everyone knows the word Hawd al-Kawthar, the fountain of Kawthar, the reservoir, the basin of Kawthar, that is going to be given to the Prophet ﷺ. طيب. So that word Hawd is called a Hawd because of this idea of having a boundary in which water is stored. طيب. So Hiyad it refers to the boundaries of knowledge, or the territory of knowledge. طيب. So if we were to sort of put it in straightforward meaning, we would say the act of defending knowledge, الذب عن العلم, and protecting its boundaries. طيب, inshallah, protecting its boundaries. It's a very important principle, and this principle is expressed in another way. The ulama normally would say that this ilm is like wealth, and it's this wealth, it requires, or this wealth has its own form of zakah that is obligatory on it. Okay, just like wealth, when it reaches a certain level, and then the time of a year passes on it, the compulsory charity, zakah, it becomes obligatory on the person who owns this wealth. Likewise, this ilm of Islam, of Sharia, when it becomes of a permanent nature in a person's heart, whatever he knows, even if it's one ayah, it becomes obligatory on that person to defend that knowledge. And we've highlighted this before, that when we say knowledge, we refer to the deen as a whole. Tawheed, the Sharia, Aqidah, everything that Islam represents. So protecting this knowledge, defending its boundaries from being trespassed. طيب, inshallah. The Sheikh says, إن للعلم حرمة وافرة. إن للعلم حرمة وافرة توجب الانتصار له إذا تعرض لجنابه بما لا يصلح. Can everyone still see the screen, inshallah? Seems like we had a little problem with the internet. Can everyone still see the screen or not? Perhaps not. Let me just quickly. Khair, inshallah, as soon as it's up and running. Everyone can hear me still, right? I'll continue explaining, and I'll see if I can share the screen as soon as we are up and running, inshallah. So this ilm has a hurma. It has a sanctity. This hurma, this ilm has a hurma. Hurma refers to sanctity. Okay, it is a dignity. طيب, inshallah. So this knowledge has an abundant dignity, an innate dignity or sanctity, توجب الانتصار له, that necessitates its defense, or it necessitates defending this ilm, this ilm and everything that it represents. When is this defense necessitated? Well, إذا تعرض لجنابه بما لا يصلح. If anything, or when anything inappropriate encroaches upon its dignity. Anything comes close to harming its dignity, damaging its sanctity, well, that is the time to stand up for this haqq, for the truth, and defend it in whatever way the Sharia demands from you to defend it. طيب, inshallah. So on that, the Shaykh says, وَقَدْ ظَهَرَ هَذَا الْإِنْتِصَارُ عِنْدَ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ فِي مَظَاهِرٍ. And indeed, this defense from the people of knowledge has come in different forms, has become apparent from them, from their side, from the ulama, throughout the centuries, in different forms, في مظاهر, in different forms, in different ways. Minha, from those ways of defending the religion in its knowledge, is الرد على المخالف, answering the person who opposes the ilm, the religion. So answering or refuting the opposition, or the one who is against the Sharia. فمن استبانت مخالفته للشريعة رد عليه كائنا من كان. Whomsoever's opposition to the Sharia becomes crystal clear, becomes apparent, رد عليه, he will be refuted, he will be answered, he will be called upon his lies or his opposition which is undue. كائنا من كان, let it be whomever he is, does not matter whoever this person is, no matter how small or big. Okay, it is the Sharia of Allah, it is the right of Allah Azza wa Jal upon his slaves that they defend his religion when there is need to defend it. So you do this حمية للدين, as a way of protecting the religion, وَنَصِيحَةً لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ, and a way of advising the Muslims, wanting khair for the Muslims, wanting welfare for the Ummah, right? Wanting what is in the best interest of the Muslims. Okay, so you do this to protect the Muslims, and you do this to protect the. So you do this to protect the religion, and you do this to protect this religion for the people. So they remain steadfast upon this religion. From these types of opposition to the Sharia are, of course, shirk and then bid'ah. So the Shaykh gives you the example of bid'ah. He says, وَمِنْهَا, and from these ways of opposition are حَجْرُ الْمُبْتَدِعِ. If you see an innovator, if you've come to know of some person who innovates in the religion, or he ascribes to an innovative idea in the religion, or he belongs to a sect which is which is essentially a sect that represents the innovators, then this person who represents the Sharia as a scholar or as a talib al-ilm, he does hajr of these of the mubtadi'ah. He leaves them. He leaves their company. He distances himself from the innovators. This is something that ذكره أبو يعلى الفراء إجماعا. This is something upon which Al-Imam Abu Ya'la al-Farra has transmitted a unanimous consensus of the Ummah, of the Mujaddideen, of the Salaf al-Salihin, that the innovators will be reprimanded, they will be left alone as in they'll be rejected in the society and they will not be associated with. فَلَا يُؤْخَذُ الْعِلْمُ عَنْ أَهْلِ الْبِدَعِ. So ilm will not be taken from those who are people of innovation. لكن, however, there is an exception. إِذَا اضْطُرَّ إِلَيْهِ فَلَا بَأْسٍ. If it becomes a necessity that the particular piece of knowledge that you seek, that is important for your deen, is only found with the people of innovation, then there is no harm. كما في الرواية عنهم لدى المحدثين. So the Shaykh gives you a very substantive example from the life of the action of the Mujaddideen. Now the Mujaddideen, they would sometimes include narrations from those people who were involved in some form of bid'ah, in innovation. And to be able to do that, they laid down some very strict conditions. From those conditions are, one, that this bid'ah that this person represents, it should not be a bid'ah that takes someone outside the fold of Islam. So it shouldn't be a bid'ah mukaffirah. It shouldn't be a bid'ah that takes someone outside the fold of Islam. Okay, it shouldn't be something it shouldn't be an innovation of a type which is essentially kufr. Khalas? This is the first condition. The second thing is, this person, the hadith that he's narrating, or this knowledge that he's giving you, it has nothing to do with his bid'ah. It should be something completely disconnected from his bid'ah. For example, someone calls to Allahu Alam, tasawwuf, and the oneness of all creation, everything being one, God and creation being one, astaghfirullah. Let's say that is the case, and you can find no one in the whole world who can teach you. Let's say, and this is not true, by the way, I'm just giving you an example. Let's say you don't find anyone in the world to teach you the works of Abdul Qahir al-Jurjani in the field of balagha. Let's say he's the only expert in that field, and that field has nothing to do with, let's say, the idea of hulul, okay, this oneness of being. Then, if that is the necessity and you want to learn that science for you to be able to learn the meanings of the Quran, the depths of the Quran, the miraculous nature of the language of the Quran, then the ulama would say, okay, tayyib, inshallah, just make sure that this person, first of all, it shouldn't be, his bid'ah shouldn't be mukaffira. So you judge, is this person, what he's teaching me, i.e. let's say balagha, whatever the case may be in this science may be, is this person generally, the bid'ah that he teaches, is this bid'ah mukaffira? Is this bid'ah something that will take someone outside the fold of Islam? If that is the case, then you can avoid this person altogether. Full stop. Let's say his bid'ah is lesser than that. Let's say he's just someone who is an Ash'ari, for example, who just rejects some attributes of Allah Azza wa Jal. Then his bid'ah is of a lesser category. It's not shirk. It's minor kufr, it's minor shirk. So it's not major kufr. But it's not something that takes him outside the fold of Islam. And when he's going to teach you balagha, he's not going to delve into these issues, let's say. Although some aspects of balagha do include these discussions. But I'm just giving an example. So just make sure that you go through these steps if you have to seek knowledge. For example, when I was in England, we had this imam from Azhar. He was an imam in Kempston. And it was quite close to our college. So one of my friends, he said, we should learn Arabic from him. And this person, we later found out that he was proper like Sufi and Azhari and that kind of individual. So I chose not to go to him, because I learned that he was not on the Sunnah. And Allah always gave me some alternative, and a better alternative at that, alhamdulillah. So when you search for something which is an alternative to the bid'ah, Allah Azza wa Jal always gives you a very appropriate replacement for that. However, as a matter of principle, the ulama, the Shaykh, the reason why he's mentioning this is, if there is an absolute need to learn something of the deen from an innovator, it should be done as the Mujaddideen used to do, with accepting narrations from the people of innovation. It should not be an innovation which leads to kufr. This person should not be narrating something to you which supports his bid'ah. That's second. And thirdly, this person should not be someone who propagates his bid'ah. Okay? So inshallah, so these three are some of the conditions that the ulama, they laid down in principle that you follow. But the general principle is that the people of innovation should not be learnt from, they should not be taken knowledge from, as far as the ilm of the religion is concerned. If you're learning something, for example, to do with the sciences of the world, like mathematics or engineering or medicine, for example, these things can be taken from even non-Muslims, let alone the people of bid'ah. Tayyib, inshallah. We're being very specific with the knowledge of the religion. In my experience, I've seen there is definitely still a hint of, so every subject that is taught, whether it be secular subjects or religious subjects, the teachers always somehow do see, when the way they teach, it always somehow at the end of the day, it does represent their philosophy about that subject, for example, right? So a teacher, the way he teaches physics would represent his philosophy in physics. So when you study mathematics or philosophy, physics, or any of these sciences, there are camps, which represent different types of philosophies when approaching these subjects. Okay, there are those scientists which represent a theistic study of science, which always keeps the bigger plan of God, so to speak, in mind when they study this, science. And then there are the atheistic camp, which is essentially, when they study science, everything to them is just a matter of proving things from first principles, and nothing is grand, nothing is overarching, or nothing is beyond themselves. Everything is, it's reductive, it's nihilistic, and so on and so forth. That all of those things are they definitely exist. Okay, but we're being very specific that as far as this knowledge is concerned, if the knowledge is secular, then you can take it, so long you are aware of these things, inshallah. But when it comes to the religion of the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal, then these stricter conditions are in place that you should not seek knowledge from the people of innovation. And if you do, you should check these conditions are met. If they are met, then it's fine. If it's not, then you should leave that, inshallah. So another example that the Shaykh gives of this protection of knowledge and the defense of its dignity and sanctity. وَمِنْهَا زَجَرُ الْمُتَعَلِّمِ إِذَا تَعَدَّى فِي بَحْثِهِ. So reprimanding the student, زَجَرُ الْمُتَعَلِّمِ إِذَا تَعَدَّى فِي بَحْثِهِ, if he oversteps in his inquiry or shows excessive questioning for the sake of asking questions, not for the sake of clarification, just because he wants to prove something, or he's being whatever the case may be. And the Shaykh says, أو ظهر منه لدد أو سوء أدب, or some form of obstinacy, right? Some form of stubbornness becomes apparent from him, or some form of ill-manneredness becomes apparent from him. If this happens in the class, then the teacher, when he or she reprimands a student, scolds a student, tells them off, this is also part of protecting the religion and its boundaries. Because you're teaching the student the adab, and this person, inshallah, in the future, he's going to be a teacher, or even, let's say, a parent, and he's going to be passing on these things. If he's not taught adab, then the wrong kind of attitude will be transferred onto the next generation. So the importance of these things is very much highlighted in the way the teacher teaches ilm. Zajr should be done of those who are, the students should be reprimanded and scolded if there is a need to. Otherwise, the teacher assumes an aura of respect for the knowledge that he's teaching, and he does not indulge in anything which is unworthy, such as beating the students or telling them off, using foul language with them, and so on and so forth. These things are unbefitting of a teacher, especially a teacher of divine knowledge. However, if there is a need for teaching manners to a student, then the teacher, he is in his or her due right to reprimand or scold a student if the student oversteps, transgresses in the art of questioning, or he's stubborn, or he shows ill-manneredness towards the teacher. And on that, the Shaykh says, وَإِنَّ احتاج المعلم إلى إخراج المتعلم من مجلسه زجرا له فليفعل. And if the teacher, to an extent, if the teacher needs to kick out a student from his majlis, from his class, as a form of reprimanding him, to teach him some etiquettes, فليفعل, then he should do so. If there is a need to do this, if there is a need to teach the student some form of etiquette. كما كان يفعله شعبة رحمه الله مع عفان بن مسلم في درسه. Just like the famous story of Shu'bah, the great muhaddith, with his student Affan ibn Muslim. It's a famous story from the life of Imam Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj. Once a student named Affan ibn Muslim, he came to, he appeared before the Shaykh Shu'bah with pen and paper, right, qalam and awraq. And so Imam Shu'bah, he let him sit in the class because he thought that he was, being, he came to seek knowledge, right? He came to seek the knowledge of hadith from him. So he saw once, like in one of his classes, that Affan was playing with his pen. He was putting it in his mouth and, being inappropriate in the class in a way which was not befitting for the gathering of hadith. Okay? Where Shu'bah, he was very strict with the adab, especially in the class of hadith, and anything that he saw against, any action, any behavior that he saw to be against the etiquettes of knowledge, and we've talked about this in one of the previous chapters, how to sit and how to behave in the class and so on and so forth. So Shu'bah saw him playing with his pen like this, putting him in his mouth and being, not being attentive in the class, and so he's when he saw this from him, he became really angry at him for not paying attention in class and not giving the hadith its due right, its due respect. So he reprimanded him, he scolded him, saying, "Ukhruj min majlisi, la arak ahlan lil-akhdhi anni." Ukhruj min majlisi, get out from my class, leave my class. La araka ahlan lil-akhdhi anni, I do not see you fit to be taking hadith from me. طيب. So it's a very strict stance, but Imam Shu'bah rahimahullah, like with all of his other precedents, he was setting a precedent for later scholars that this hadith is not a joke. It's not something that we take lightly. It's the word of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is the bayan of the Quran. This is the explanation of the Quran, right? So this is how we honor the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his messenger and his hadith, by not laughing, not being careless, not being obstinate, not being silly in the class of hadith, coming with the proper etiquette and so on and so forth. We've talked about this in detail before. Okay. I mean, subhanAllah, look, you can contrast this with how classrooms are in our times. Students don't even students don't even give the respect to their teachers. I mean, they don't even call them with respectful titles like Sir or Mr. Like what I've seen, they'll just call them with their first names, and this is something which is, I'm just touching the surface. They say bad things about the teachers, very, very obscene things about the teachers and so on and so forth. So this is something which is seen, which is a calamity of our times, but this was something which was extremely, extremely abhorrent and looked down upon in the times of the Salaf Salihin. And the Shaykh, he gives another example, saying, وَقَدْ يُزَجِّرُ الْمُتَعَلِّمُ أو وَقَدْ يُزَجَّرُ الْمُتَعَلِّمُ بِعَدَمِ الْإِقْبَالِ عَلَيْهِ وَتَرْكِ إِجَابَتِهِ فَالسُّكُوتُ جَوَابٌ قَالَهُ الْأَعْمَشُ. Sometimes a student is reprimanded by not paying attention to him. And if he asks a question, by not answering his question. If he asks a question, the teacher doesn't answer his question. Or if he asks a question, the teacher answers him in a different way. He doesn't answer his question, let's say. Or the sheikh doesn't respond at all. The sheikh just remains silent. Okay, these are ways in which the student may be reprimanded. It doesn't always have to be a reprimand of a verbal nature. It can also be in a way which teaches the student that the teacher is not happy with him by some of his actions, by not looking at him or looking at him with a stern eye, not giving him a very affectionate look, for example, and so on. So these are different ways the teacher can choose to teach the student the right lesson that he needs to learn. Okay, it shouldn't be done to a degree where the student leaves off ilm. He or she goes far away from knowledge, far away from the halaqat. So much so that they stop taking any interest in the deen at all. For example, we've seen in a lot of brothers I met who are grown up. When I asked them, people who are from religious families, their fathers are scholars, but they themselves are not. So when I asked them as to what happened, as to why did they not pursue why did they not follow the footsteps of their fathers, they would say, well, we once went, and this is a common answer, that we once went to, we joined these halaqat, but the teacher beat us really hard, and he beat us severely, and so we just ran away from the class, and we just lost interest. SubhanAllah. And this is much more of a common story than you can imagine, than you would think. So it should be done with a balance. Upon the teacher is to have love for the students. It's because of them coming to study the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is a huge sign that these students who are in the time of fitan, in today's time especially, when no one wants to study the religion, some of these chosen people are coming to the halaqat. So we shouldn't be, we should be very, very intelligent and careful in how we deal with students today. It's not the time of Shu'bah, it's not the time of Ahmad, rahimahullah. It's not that time. Everyone was a Muslim practicing and so on and so forth, and the collective, the communal presence of the deen was much more greater. Today, liberalism, secularism, atheism, everything that is ungodly is common. So it is our duty to bring people to the religion of Allah by being soft and polite and gentle, and of course with right caution, reprimanding negative behavior when it is due. I hope that is clear, inshallah. So the Shaykh says, وَرَأَيْنَا هَذَا كَثِيرًا مِنْ جَمَاعَةٍ مِنَ الشُّيُوخِ. The Shaykh says, and we have seen this a lot from a group of scholars. منهم العلامة ابن باز رحمه الله. From amongst them is the great scholar Ibn Baz رحمه الله, bin Baz رحمه الله. فربما سأله سائل عما لا ينفعه فترك الشيخ إجابته. Maybe sometimes a questioner would ask him a question, and that question is something that will not benefit him. The question was silly or a useless question, that is. فَتَرَكَ الشَّيْخُ إِجَابَتَهُ. So the Shaykh would not answer his question. He would just ignore his question, and he would وَأَمَرَ الْقَارِئَ أَنْ يُوَاصِلَ قِرَاءَتَهُ. And he would command the reader, as the reader of the class who is reading the book upon the Shaykh, he would ask him to continue reading. Or sometimes he would answer, but أو أجابه بخلاف قصده. He would answer, but rather he would answer against what the questioner was intending. Okay, this is something that the scholars might do or can do. So these are two examples that the Shaykh has given. One example is from a general perspective of a student, where he leaves, how he operates in a world where people of innovation are rampant, they exist. Okay, how does he operate or she operate? So that is that you normally don't associate with them, you don't learn from them, even if it is anything to do with the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal, even if it's Arabic. Normally, I mean, so many people go to Egypt to learn Arabic, for example, right? But most of them end up with Ash'ari institutes. There are some good Salafi, good Ahlul Hadith on the Sunnah, institutes there, which you can go to if someone wants to go there. That is, but after that, people normally go to Azhar, and Azhar is essentially just a melting pot of Sufis and Shi'as and Barelwis and basically anything to do with bid'ah, and even kufr in some aspects. So that is the first aspect that the Shaykh highlighted, not to take knowledge from the people of bid'ah. And Allah inshaAllah ta'ala will suffice you with people of sunnah to give you that knowledge, inshallah. The second thing the Shaykh highlighted is the example of a classroom, how a teacher, he can safeguard the boundaries of knowledge by teaching the students the right etiquettes, or reprimanding them when they step the boundaries. Okay. You can give more examples on this, such as the case with people who are spreading lies about the religion. They misguide people with their lies. So in that case, you stand up for the defense of the religion. Okay, you stand up to give the zakah of this understanding that Allah has given you, that He has blessed you with. You stand up as the guardian of this religion. And one of our mashayikh, he always says that this knowledge, it's this true understanding, this depth, it's only given to those who stand up for the defense of the religion. So this is one of the greatest principles of knowledge that you can cling on to. Even if you've only studied one or two or three books, not very much factual knowledge, but when you stand up for defending the religion, Allah would open up your chest and your mind and understanding, and you will start to see things in ways which will be miraculous for you. As in, how on earth are you seeing or perceiving so much depth in ilm just by choosing to defend the religion of Allah? Allah really gives you steadfastness. He opens your heart to vistas that you could have not imagined if you were to not have defended the religion of Allah. Okay, so this act of standing up for the haqq, it's the greatest principle in knowledge. The way Allah grants you knowledge is by seeing your continued commitment to defending the religion of Allah. This is why the famous hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, يعني أفضل الجهاد كلمة الحق عند سلطان جائر, the best, the most virtuous, the strongest and the greatest of the jihad is to utter the words of truth in front of an oppressive tyrant king, sultan. It is because you're standing up for defending the religion. Okay, so these are the people who even if they have not studied very much, Allah Azza wa Jal makes them from the ulama, because the word ulama, the word alim, as per the definition of the Quran, has nothing to do with how many books you've memorized, how many subjects you've mastered, how many sciences you're an expert in, how many countries you've traveled to meet the ulama, how many ijazat you have. The ilm and the way the word alim or the ulama is defined in the Quran and the Sunnah has nothing to do with any of these things. It is to do with how you fear Allah Azza wa Jal. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. That it is only the ulama who fear Allah Azza wa Jal. So anyone who fears Allah, then he is from the ulama. And anyone who claims, who deserves to be called from the ulama, one from the ulama, is the one who truly fears Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? So you can be someone who is a quote-unquote scholar, an alim in the academic sense of things, but you may be nothing inside of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that is very, very plausible. In fact, this is the only distinction that the Sharia makes. Alim is the one who fears Allah Azza wa Jal and stands up for the defense of the religion. Inshallah. So the cornerstone, essentially, what everything boils down to is this spirit, this ambition to always stand up for the aid of the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. If you have that, inshallah, Allah will definitely make you successful in this path. Even if you die with less factual knowledge, Allah Azza wa Jal, bi'idhni ta'ala, will replace that deficiency many fold in terms of the depth of understanding, the ranks in Jannah, being from the shuhada, from the salihin, inshaAllah ta'ala. So Allah Azza wa Jal will definitely, reward you in ways that you can't imagine. So not everything is about factual knowledge, not everything. And being an expert in all these things, in terms of the academia, it's not for everyone anyway. طيب? So this is why Ibn Mas'ud used to say that this ilm is not about the kathatul riwayah. It's not about multitudes of narrations and memorization of all these facts and these things. It's about the taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jal. It's about the fear of Allah Azza wa Jal. How do you behave as a mu'min, as a believer? طيب, inshallah. So with this, alhamdulillah, we have come to our conclusion for this class. طيب. So always make sure that when you seek this knowledge, it should always be done with the intention of reviving the religion of Allah, being always there to aid the religion when it needs you, inshallah ta'ala, in your community, whatever scale you're working on. So inshallah, whenever you see that something it needs doing and no one is standing up for it, or even if there are people, but you know, inshallah, if you make a stand, inshallah, you'll make a difference, at least in the sight of Allah Azza wa Jal. Perhaps something small that you do might be the only thing that you do in life that is worth saving you from the hellfire. طيب. So that is what this whole chapter is about, essentially. This is the cornerstone of all knowledge. The reason why we exist is so that we believe in Allah and we aid the messengers and their mission. As Allah says in the Quran, in Surah Ali Imran, it says, when Allah gathered all the Anbiya and the progeny, from the humankind, we have one ayah which talks about the promise of belief in Allah. That when Allah, the famous ayah where Allah took all the progeny of Adam alayhi salam before he sent them, before he created everyone in this world, when we existed in the world of the souls and the spirits, before this creation, Allah gathered all of us from the progeny of Adam alayhi salam, and He questioned us, who do you worship? Who will you worship? And we said Allah. This formed the component of fitrah that we have in our hearts, and when we are distant from it, it's like having shackles on you and having your eyes blindfolded. But when you come close to the truth, it's like your eyes open up. And you feel this is, and when you know the haqq, you know it's the haqq, you know it's the truth, right? That's one side of the promise, that you will worship Allah, that you know who Allah is and you worship Him. Which is why this whole idea of proving God's existence is useless. You don't need to. God's existence is in your souls. It just needs to be refreshed with the signs of Allah. The second promise that we made to Allah was لَا تُؤْمِنُنَّ بِهِ وَلَا تَنْصُرُنَّ, that when the messengers come, you will believe in them and you will aid them. You will aid them. This is also a promise that we made to Allah, and this is also part of our fitrah. These two things are part of our fitrah, that we believe in Allah, we worship Him, and we follow His messengers, and we aid them. We stand for defending the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay? And you will notice, inshallah, when you do these two things, you believe in Allah as He deserves to be worshipped, and then you stand up for it, for the defense of the religion when it needs to be defended. You stand for the nusrah of the deen. That is when your heart really opens up to knowledge. That is when your heart really becomes softened and you start accepting the true light of Allah Azza wa Jal that is clouded from you until before you stand up for the haqq. Bidnai ta'ala. طيب. Barakallahu feekum. Jazakumullahu khaira. Any questions we'll take in a second. Okay, inshallah, after we end this recording. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.